Hey everyone, it's LS, and I wanted to make this video because I've been silent for a really long time, pretty much everywhere, and this video has been a long time coming, and there's a lot of things that I want to address, and I want to talk about, and I want to give clarity on. And at the end of all of it, I want to explain what's going to be next for me and what's going on with me. So I think the first thing to really talk about is obviously the apology that I think is owed to Antara, that I think last time around, almost 2 years ago, really wasn't the way that it should have been. And I think at the time I got so caught up in the situation that I didn't really realize or think about how I was impacting others, and ultimately, at the end of the day, all that matters is that I hurt other people and I offended fans and I made people upset, and for that I'm sorry, and obviously I'm sorry to Antara for having caused that issue. It was not my intention for it to be as big as it was, and obviously I was pretty emotional inside of the moment. I'm also sorry that I allowed my platform and my brand to be used in a way to launch those kinds of attacks, pretty much. I don't know what else to really call it. It feels bad thinking back to everything. And I know that trying to give some clarity on the situation, I think that a lot of people thought that I was just outright defending Malice, and they conflated me defending him as a friend of mine as me defending his actions, and those aren't two in the same. What I was trying to do was I was trying to point out that yes, he was very toxic, yes, things that he was doing was really bad, but I felt like it was wrong that he was being attacked as well. And I just don't want anyone to really be attacked, and I don't want anyone to have to go through stuff like that. But never did I condone any of his behavior or any of the remarks that he made. At the time of me making a remark that stated that he was never found to have been racist, I had not seen the image that had circulated that he made a racist remark, and for that I am really sorry. I had not seen it. So it's really indefensible. I can't say anything else really on that matter, but obviously nothing he's done has ever really been acceptable, and I've always held that stance towards him. I think in the last couple of weeks, there's obviously been a lot of conversations that have centered around this and where do I stand on this matter. And obviously, as someone that's lived in Korea for 10 years, coming up on 10 years, I've loved the country. I've always wanted to live here. I've never wanted to leave. I've looked, towards trying to get permanent residence. I've lived in so many different team houses, so many different Korean friends. Just Korea is my home because I didn't have a home in America. And I dreamed of coming here back in StarCraft 1 when I would stay up at night really late, and I would watch Star Leagues, and I would watch pro players, even SKT players like Boxer and I Love Uv and Fantasy and Bisu and other players, and I always dreamed of just coming to Korea to try to play, and I tried to make that dream come true in StarCraft 1, but I wasn't able to because of age. And so it's always just been a dream to be here, and ever since I came here, I'd never wanted to leave, and that's where I am now, and nothing's ever really changed. I've always loved Korea. I've loved the culture. I've loved the hospitality that everyone seems to have. I remember that even when I was homeless at one point in Korea and sleeping literally on the streets or in the staircases of apartment buildings in Mokdong, there was a lady that had a mandu shop, and she would give me discount on mandu so that I could try to afford it because I had no money, I couldn't really eat, I couldn't really do anything, and that just stood out to me, and so many countless other experiences with different ajumas and ajushis that were always really nice to me. It really impacted me a lot in my early years in Korea, and it just really reinforced that I loved the country and the people inside of it. So it, makes me feel bad that people think that I would ever think otherwise about Korea. And it's why I've been here the whole time, and it's why I refuse to leave, and why it's my home. America's not my home, and it hasn't been for a long time. Korea's my home. So, obviously, with this being said, I completely condemn any sort of racist behavior or remarks towards Koreans. I condemn any of the negative attacks that have obviously been thrown at Korean players, fans, and anyone's way in the midst of everything that's been going on the last couple of weeks. And I feel really bad because I know that not all Korean fans are toxic. I know not all Korean fans are bad, and I know that it's unfair that they're just basically there's blanket statements that are being made about them, and it doesn't make any sense to me because it's obviously not true. And I think that there's so much misinformation and misunderstandings that have been going on, and I felt really bad that I couldn't speak on the matter until now, even though I wanted to, and I felt really bad what I was witnessing going on around me, and it just felt really bad. I don't know how else to say it. So I'm sorry that has happened as well, and I'm sorry for the chaos that has unfolded on the internet in light of everything that's gone on. So there's that. I know that T1 fans in particular have been cast in a really bad light, and I know that T1 fans are not what they are said to be. I know T1 fans are some of the most passionate in the entire world, and that the T1 fandom is the best that I've ever seen in terms of how much they seem to care about the players and the team and everything else. So I recognize that, and I've always recognized that. And I think it's so silly the way that people are painting this narrative of it that is not true and doesn't make any sense, because what a very small percent of people, what a handful of people might do, doesn't make up for the entire majority of what people are doing. So, yeah, that notion should be thrown away pretty quickly. And so, my hope in all of this, obviously, is that resolution can be made, and that the communities can stop hating each other, and that misinformation about everything just can come to an end, and that things don't have to be the way that they are. I feel really bad because I've always wanted to try to promote and bring exposure to Korea and Korean teams and Korean players in the West, and that's why I was a caster, and I always did analysis and other stuff, and I was always a huge fan of Korea and trying to get others to be fans of Korea, and I hope the communities can obviously see past that and not have to be this way anymore. So on this as well, I think a lot of people have wondered what has been going on with me while I've been silent, and the reality is the entire time the T1 management has been helping me behind the scenes, and it's not what a lot of people thought was going on, and I've never experienced that level of availability from any org that I've been a part of in the past or seen in the past. And so that means so much to me, because it meant so much to me to be a part of T1, to join T1, because ever since I was a teenager, it was a dream to be a part of T1, SKT. And seeing that kind of hospitality and seeing that kind of support that was happening within T1, even though it wasn't public and no one knew what was going on, has been nothing but great. And it makes me feel bad that I see them get attacked or them be ridiculed for things that aren't true, like them just abandoning me or them not doing anything, because it's been the entire opposite this entire time. So I wanted to clear that up and just let people know that none of that was true. I was staying silent because I was trying to figure out what to do and what was the best case to handle this, and I didn't want to fuel any other problems. And I'm sorry that some of my friends obviously caused some chaos elsewhere, and I feel like me reaching out to them and talking about them with hardships that I was dealing with, they spoke out and other problems arose, and for that I apologize too. So there's that to say on that. I think moving forward, because there's a big question in everyone's mind on what is going on with me or what's going on next, I don't want to hide or lie about any situation that was going on. I did have the choice to be a coach at T1. This was a real legitimate thing that was potentially going to happen. But at the same time, the original reason that I was joining was as a content creator, and thinking through everything and going over all the options and what I want to do and how I want to go about it and what is important to me. I think that I realized that I still want to have that sort of freedom to communicate with all the communities and produce league content and talk with people and be active on Twitter and try to elevate the game and try to talk about things that can improve the game and do all of those things. And if I joined as a coach, I wouldn't be able to do something like that. But if I join as a streamer and a content creator, I can still do that. And I've had a lot of discussions with T1 on how, going forward, we can upgrade basically all the existing content that I've already done, but create new content that is going to let me amplify the things that I've already been trying to achieve throughout the last couple of years in League of Legends. And I think I wouldn't be able to do that without T1. So for that, I'm really grateful. And everything over the last few weeks that they've been helping out with and supporting with has been above and beyond. And I'm really excited for the future and what it potentially holds. And obviously it doesn't rule out maybe certain pivots or something in the future that I could end up maybe wanting to go down that avenue. But for now, I'm really excited for some stuff that's going to be coming up in the off season that I can't talk about just yet, but it's going to be really nice. It's going to be big, and I'm looking forward to it. And that's the direction that I've chosen to go. It's not a direction that I was forced into or anything like that. I genuinely think that this is something that I've remained true in, because for all the years that teams wanted me to leave Korea and go coach elsewhere or join a different org or join different teams, one thing's always remained true, and it's that I love Korea and I don't want to leave here. And T1 is going to enable me to be able to do everything I've always wanted to do and more. So for concluding thoughts, again, I want to say sorry for all the drama that has been caused around me and for all the fights that broke out surrounding me and for so much misinformation that was being spread and so many misunderstandings or things that I should have clarified harder on, and I didn't in the past. And because I didn't, I again offended people, and that was never my intention. So if I ever offended you or made you feel upset, I'm sorry for that. And I hope that going forward, I can show that it was never really my intention, and I hope to only be able to help more people.